Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
What up, world? It's your boy E coming at you from the Nattering with E studios with another show recap. Nattering with E, Nattering with E, Nattering with E. As you just heard, we are now sponsored by Visionaries Global Media. Actually, if you've been with us this is season 2, episode 13, but number 74 overall since April 2013. Jeez, I put too many of these out. Anyways, I am joined today by someone I've been literally trying to get on the pod probably since I started the pod, April 2023. She does wrestling. She's the original natural. Cody took the nickname from her. My good friend Astrid is here. I was gonna try and pronounce your last name, but I was like, no, I'm gonna screw it up. So.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't have to get it at times, but no, thank you for having me. We finally made it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Astrid and I have we met on Twitter, and much like most of the guests who have been on here, and we've just been bantering back and forth. Actually, we had a funny incident the other day where as you guys know, I love the old cannabis, and I didn't realize that I was actually talking to people while I was taste testing some gummies. Some lozenges, and Astrid happened to be one of the people I was texting with. So it was quite silly. I'm very happy that you were still like, yeah, I'll still do the podcast with you. You're an idiot, but I will still do the podcast with you. So
You're not an idiot. You took me by surprise with your I don't know if it was a dream or a vision. I don't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah,
It was
yeah.
random.
Yeah, but I think I said to you, I was so high I saw when all my sports teams will win their next titles.
Yeah.
I've actually never been married before, and I was like, I just miss my wife so much. And I was like, I'm way too high. I'm way too high. It was fantastic. Do you dabble in the electric lettuce at all, or?
No.
No, fair enough. Fair
No.
enough. Yeah, fair enough. So, I guess a couple basic questions, because we know each other from being wrestling fans, but also avid readers. So my two basic questions for you are, first match that you watched as a fan, like that got you into it, and then first match for being a member of the media.
Sheesh. That one's hard to remember though, but I wouldn't say it was a particular match, but I guess the interactions at that time between like Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio is what really got me into like wrestling. It really like hooked me there. I like the storytelling they had with them as friends, but also as I don't want to say enemies, but opponents, I guess if you want to call them. But just seeing that story from them from becoming friends to becoming rivals is what really got me into it. And there was also people like Batista and Triple H around that time that really like caught my attention. So they really hooked me onto that. So there were the people like maybe want to watch on a weekly basis. I did like the women, but I just didn't like how they were getting booked. So that's the only thing that it was making a big difference for me. But around the same time, I remember my dad, I don't know how he found out. I think he was flipping channels and he discovered that Sting was in TNA. So because he's a big Sting fan, so we started watching TNA as a family. And it drove us to like watching that more often as well. So we ended up watching TNA, and I liked how they were doing with the women at that time with the knockouts. So that's what drew me to like continue to watch in there. But first matches media, that one's also a tough one. I don't remember like really when I started doing it like that, but I would say like not the only one, but the in-person ones for me have been I've been to TNA twice, I believe at this point, for two TNA tapings in Orlando as media. I think it was this year and the year before, and the Royal Rumble this year as well for as media. So those were my three big ones, I guess, so far.
That's awesome. So when you go as media, I mean, as a fan, when you see a crazy move, you want to mark out and stuff, but do you have to like just sit on your hands when you see something crazy happen? So
Well, yes and no. It does happen when you are like in the box, which is up in the building. I didn't get to be in the box, so I got to react every time something happened like that was big. But when you're in the box, you're supposed to like be a little bit more quieter. It doesn't always happen, but they do give you the heads up. Like if you get to go to the box, then you had to like be in your behavior basically. But because I ended up being in the seats, I got had to have more liberty in that aspect of like every time somebody came up. I was screaming and I had people like around me, even though I didn't know them. We were all talking about like, oh, what if so and so comes next? And we haven't seen this person yet. We got to like chat it up through like the matches, and especially like the like respective Rumble matches. So it was fun having to like interact with like fans around that time when that was happening. Just thinking about like, oh, that's so cool. Like this, when Jordan Grace came out, it was like, oh, we were screaming like, oh, we can't wait for her to interact with Naomi. And then when Naomi came out, it was just one of those things like it was so surreal, and to be able to talk about people like were like they were not how they are on the internet, level headed. So obviously you get to
yeah.
like enjoy the conversations with them as they were happening. So that was always fun. And just thinking every time we're like, oh, we haven't seen this person, and all of a sudden they will come out like, yeah, we're so happy for them that they got the spot. So like obviously we're surprised when like Jordan came out and when Naomi came out. And it's like all those like big entrances, like Jade, for example, those were the big ones that we were like really cheering for. So I just like it really like made me tear up because I was thinking this is my first one as media, like my first like major one. And I'm just thinking, yeah, I hope I can continue on from this and be able to do this again sometime.
That's awesome. Was there ever any aspiration to train and become a wrestler, or strictly you want to be media and that's it?
I wouldn't want to be a wrestler just because I know with my asthma I wouldn't be able to do much. So I was like, I'd rather not die, to be honest, in that aspect. But if I could do like any backstage interview and things like that, or just coverage or like in social media for like the company itself, that's something I would rather be doing rather than being a wrestler. Or maybe being a manager or something like that, but not to be like physically in the ring. I know I wouldn't be able to do it. So props to whoever is able to step in that ring and do it because I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. I sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I will become a wrestler. But then I was watching there's a promotion up here called Destiny Wrestling, and so they had an event called The Clash, and there's this guy named Tariq, and his gimmick is punch, kick, chop. So he punches the guy, and it's like, okay, you can see it's staged, choreographed, or whatever. Kicks the guy, you can see that he missed it by a mile, but the guy's still selling. And he absolutely lights this guy's chest up with the slap. I'm literally sitting like 6 or 7 rows back, and I can feel the reverberation of that
Mhm.
slap, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
I interviewed the guy after actually for or one of the guys after for the pod, and I was like, so what hurts more, being hit by a chair or being hit by one of Tariq's chops? And he said Tariq's chops are much harder than a chair.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my God. But
Yeah, I can.
it's
You can feel it.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. What did you think of I guess like this will go out probably tomorrow. So we still can discuss we can discuss all out whenever because it's our pod, so we can do what we want. But All In, what did you think of All In? Just a quick recap of your thoughts.
I feel like I enjoyed most of it. I'm trying to remember everything that happened. I feel like I enjoyed most of the show though. I feel like usually with AEW they do have matches that I'm like, I could do without that one, and just like that kind of dip for me. I feel like I didn't really have that unless Jericho shows up. I think he was part of it, if I'm not mistaken. He's one of the few people that I'm like, okay, I guess you're there. But I think one of my favorite ones was definitely Tony and Mariah was definitely one of my favorite ones there. And just the storytelling between those ladies is one of those I just impeccable. It's very rare to see a storyline like that in AEW, and I enjoyed the way they went into detail about it.
Mhm.
That was very enjoyable for me. And I'm trying to think of who else. Jeez. I feel like I enjoyed Osprey and MJF mostly because of Osprey and also because of Daniel Garcia. I do
Mhm.
enjoy watching DG on screen, so he was
Yeah.
definitely missed. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, so I'll keep it at that.
Yeah. Although his match with MJF at was it All In or All Out, this most recent one?
They did all out MJF and
Garcia.
DG. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That like just the viciousness of that. There was one spot where they're on top of the rope and like he literally spits in MJF's mouth, and I was like, oh my. I was like, I get that they hate each other, but oh my God. Um I thought as well, like Osprey versus Pac, like people will be talking about that forever.
Hmm.
And what was interesting is because you're a big proponent, as am I, but you for sure. Um, I don't know how that phrases properly, but with women's wrestling, like we both love women's wrestling, and you want to see like women get booked way better. So the reason I bring that up is because you get Osprey Pac, and then you're thinking, okay, who the hell is going to follow that up? Like it's going to be so difficult, and it's Willow versus Stat, and they tear the house down. Where the actual bad women's, if there was a bad match on that card, respectfully, I think it was Sheeta versus Mercedes, not Willow versus Stat. Willow versus Stat was bonkers. Like they went from like storytelling of Pack and Osprey, where you're like, this is an excellent like technical wrestling match. To here's these two women who used to be friends and they just effing hate each other, and this is what they're gonna do. Like this splits through the thumbtacks. I was like, oh my God. Or the light tube shot. I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
What did you think of how violent it was? Like, did you expect that much violence in that?
No, and I always say it like to me when they're best friends, they go and hit each other a little bit harder than most people do because I feel like they have a level of trust that a lot of people don't.
Mhm.
And you can see that with them, with both of them here too. It's like they were like, we're gonna hit each other hard because we know each other, we trust each other so much, and we know each other for so long that we know how to work well. And yeah, those spots is like that split on the thumbtacks is something that I will have in my mind for quite a while. The light tube is another one. But again, it's like I feel like it shows out not only both of the women, but Willow has had such a streak recently with her matches, especially. It's like I feel like a lot of people are not doing it like her. So I hope she's one of those people like it's contender for like one of the female wrestlers of the year because she's been doing it in different companies and different venues and she's still killing it. Like I don't know how she does it, but every match I feel like she has is just incredible. I haven't been disappointed by any one of them yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that even though she's supposed to be this like lovey-dovey, oblivious
Mm.
face, she's like, my favorite match is the Chicago street fight. Like, yeah, I want to get violent here. And we've seen her previous like violent matches, her and
Mm.
Stat versus I think it was Tiana and I'm not sure who else, but like she's been in a few of these like
Yeah.
hardcore matches where you're like,
Mm.
okay, she's down. Like, do you watch GCW at all or?
No, I watch clips here and there, but it's not something that I watch entirely. But I get what you mean too, because with Willow, she's such like a sweetheart that when you don't think about her being like that, but then once the bell rings, it's all business for her. You can see during her matches, and she's been in these like extreme or like hardcore matches, and she does incredibly well in these matches. It's just surprising.
Yeah, like I want to see her versus Masha or
Mm-hmm.
her and Rina Yamashita from
Mm-hmm.
GCW because they're both like they love the deathmatch stuff, and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
so good. What did you think of BCC turning on Brian?
Oh my gosh. I knew something was happening the moment they were celebrating a little bit too much. It's like I just feel like something's happening here. And the moment I could see the angle from Yuta when Pac is taking Yuta away as it's all happening, that broke me. The way he just wants to get in there and help him. Like that alone is the part that hurt me the most. But I just felt like something was coming sooner or later because of Moxie's promos. I just didn't know it was gonna be connected like this, or it's gonna happen like this after the pay-per-view and after the match had happened. But it's interesting though, thinking the way it's turning out to be. And it's like rest in peace to the BCC now.
Yeah, exactly. I like the fact that they're making Marina Shafir like the heavy, as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to having like here's Claudio or Pac who can
Yeah.
be Mox's enforcer. It's like nope, it's Marina, and she's just
Mm-hmm.
murdering people. Like
No, And ironically, when she was out with Moxie the first time around, they showed her back. And at first I thought it was Beth Phoenix because I don't know why her hair looks similar to Beth. And I was like, no freaking way, Beth is in AEW. When she turned around, I was like, oh, Marina, this is interesting. Like I didn't think about her, but yeah, good choice there.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And like she's come a long way in her wrestling too, because um I know when she was on NXT, she seemed more like a sidekick to Shayna
Mhm.
Baszler than her own wrestler. And then they paired her on with Nia Jax for a little bit. Or not Nia Jax. Who am I thinking of?
I know she was what in AEW she was with was it with Nyla and Vicky? And I feel like the part
Nyla.
with
Yeah,
Vicky
yeah.
it didn't mesh very well. You could see that like there was no chemistry between like all three of them together.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for that moment that we'll realize that and take her away from that and give her something better. And then I think it was her no, was it her first promo? I think one of her first ones with Vicky was there too, is what made me realize it's like this is not clicking. It's not the crowd is not reacting to anything you're saying. I think she was in her hometown as well, and I was like, no, this is definitely not it. So I'm
Yeah.
very glad she's getting a spotlight like something like this, especially with people like Moxley and Brian and Claudia who are big names in AEW. So that means she's gonna get featured very often.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing that I like too is that they'll put her in matches against the men as opposed to like here just squash a bunch of um like indie talent who comes over to AEW that week.
Mhm.
But I kind of wanted to see her in like the way NXT is right now, like that women's roster stacked, eh? Like it's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very glad I've been watching NXT for quite a while, and even when people were dipping on it because it was 2.0, I'm glad that I was still faithful to watch because I can see, the fruits of the labor now going on in the main roster, and some of them still in NXT. But it's nice to see them growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So just to finish up, all out. Um, Hangman versus Swerve. Thoughts on how violent it was, or were you fine with the violence for that one?
To me, I was torn about it because I wasn't paying attention 100% just because I knew how it was going to be. But at the same time, I understand the violence in the aspect of like the frustration they have with each other and the hatred. Like it's basically being translated into the violence in the match. So it just makes sense why it was the way it was. And I just feel like it's a good progression for both of their characters there too, especially for Hangman and the way his arc has been since leaving like the Dark Order and being the way he is now. So it just makes sense for him the way he is. I don't necessarily I don't want to say agree with it, but it's not something that I seek out to watch all the time. It was like for me, like Chris and Willow was fine. In that one, I'm like, I don't know about this. I may
Yeah.
watch it like maybe once in a while, but it's not something I want to see often either, though.
Yeah, for sure. I watch a lot of deathmatch wrestling, and like this was fine for that. The part that
Mhm.
actually scared me more wasn't the syringe. It was the fact that apparently that cinder block was real. It wasn't a foam one. And so when they were dropping each other on it, they were like hitting the corners. And you talked earlier about for Chris and Willow really trust each other to put like some each other through that. I'm like, I got to imagine backstage Hangman and Swerve are buddies because the way they were dropping each other on that cylinder, I'm just like, you got to be good friends with the person to believe that like if I'm power
Mhm.
bombing you from the top rope and you're landing on that cinder block, I'm not gonna kill you. That's literally
Mhm.
what you have to have. You have to have that
Yeah.
friendship to believe that, you know?
Yeah, it takes a level of trust. It's not like a regular level of trust. It goes a little bit higher than usual.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think's next for Hangman?
His storyline is so interesting though, but it just like I wish he would go back to going for the world title because I liked his chasing and going, like his progress to go towards the world title, but I didn't like the title reign itself. I feel like they could have done better for him after we waited so long to have him as champion. So I would like for him to get redeemed and have another reign, but better one than what he had before. But I know at the same time with the way it's with the world title scene, we have Brian as champion. Nigel's getting a title shot. Darby's supposed to get one when Moxie wants it. So it's like it's a lot of messes
Big
going on
lineup.
there.
Yeah.
So I just don't see him joining that like connection there. But I feel like maybe something with the Dark Order just because they told him that they don't recognize him anymore. And
Mhm.
since Swerve is gonna be off the beat for a while, maybe he'll try to go back to like realize like I want to be that kind of that person I used to be. I think that will be kind of interesting. But with him, you never really know what's gonna happen next. It's kind of hard to predict him. But that's the beauty of it, just the fact that you get to watch it unfold and you don't know what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying too that like if Swerve wasn't taking time off, and like that was a great way to write him off for his break.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, the only thing I said to a buddy I was watching it with, I was like, the only thing that's left for these two is to now be partners and like go after tag gold. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to see a Hangman Swerve tag team though. That's the thing.
Hmm.
So,
That's true.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
and I feel like there's a lot with the tag team division too, because I thought after All Out that the Young Bucks will go for GYV, and then we get Will and Kyle now winning the title shots. It's like I don't know what's happening here anymore.
yeah. Yeah, I was kind of frustrated about that too because you could see online. Well, we're both on Twitter all the time, and so
Mm.
uh, these like sites I'll call them, we're saying this gauntlet is going to feature all the amazing tag teams. There's 20 of them. And they get to like the sixth one, and they're like, "Yeah, we only have 5 minutes left of TV. Just let's wrap it up." And I'm just like, "Oh, come on!" And then like 2 seconds later, you hear that uh, Motor City Machine Guns are going from TNA to NXT, and you're like, "Ah, come on!" So too
Yeah, I
funny.
just think the placement of it too, because when you do that kind of match as the main event, it makes you feel like something's gonna happen there that you're not expecting, whether it's a return or like a surprise of a signing. And then the match happens, and then I like Will and I like Kyle, but they're not an established team like most people are. Like a private party would have been better in that aspect because we don't get them get title shots often. So it's like something like that I would have been like happier about. And at the same time, just putting it as a main event slot just makes you think like something's gonna happen here that's gonna be very interesting, and then nothing really happens. So you're like, so what was this really the main event then? It could have been something else.
Mhm.
So I think the placement was very suspicious to put it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, aside from watching wrestling, do you read any biographies of wrestlers? I know you're an avid reader, which is another reason
Mhm.
why I wanted to schmooze on the podcast. So, what sort of got you from being like a casual reader into you have your own book account and you do those videos where you get like the mail with the books in them. So what's the story behind all that?
Well, biographies, I've read or even listened to the audiobooks from AJ Lee was one of my favorite ones. The Bellas is another one. The Young Bucks, and recently was Becky Lynch was the most recent one. I listened to the audiobook though just because she narrated it and I wanted to hear it from her own voice, and I made it like more personal. So I enjoyed that journey a lot better than just reading it. So hers is the most recent one I've read, if I'm not mistaken. Um, for the book stuff, it's just the fact that I was posting it more on my personal one, and I just felt like I wasn't reaching the right audience because my personal one for more like for obviously my stuff and the people that I know in my personal life versus the book stuff, it wasn't really for them. So I just like I kept thinking, let me try to like separate this from my life and make it its own thing and then see what happens out of it. And it was at first it was just me taking like silly pictures of this, it looks like, and then little by little I became like more consistent with it of like let me post every couple of days. And little as time went by, I grew the following there that I have now. And I was able to apply or even get reached out by publishers to join their like programs. So like Penguin Team was one that reached out to me. It's like, hey, do you want to join like our influencer program? And I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I guess we'll see what happens. And the opportunities really came from there of like I get to join like their campaigns, and anytime they do like special stuff like read-alongs. And around the time of the pandemic, they did like online events, and they would invite us to like chat with the authors, and they would like post about it to promote the book. Or they're like, hey, if you fill out a form and like I'm interested in this book, and they're like, hey, we have copies of it if you're interested in getting one. and they will mail it to me. So I just wait until like I have a few of them so I can unbox them together and do this kind of like reels that I do unboxing them. So just a matter of like it started with them. And as time went by, I joined other programs as well. So I've been in other influencer programs too. I still am. So that's how I get a lot of the books that I get nowadays, to be honest. But I also buy a couple of them every now and then. So it just started from there. And I try to post as often as I can. This month has been a little tough one with my new work promotion, but other than that, I like to post constantly about either what I'm reading or the new books that I got and things like that, or even promoting if the book got released on that certain day, just to congratulate the author. So it just depends on what's going on.
It's awesome. So when you get these books like an advanced copy, how long does it take you to read before you can like speak to the author? Like if they're like, hey, we'll give this to you 10 days before, like, can you usually finish a book in 10 days or?
It depends on how interesting it is, because I had one that I tried to buddy read with a friend not too long ago, the Tearsmith, which it was adapted. I forgot if it was by Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. And she's like, "Oh, let's read it, and then we'll watch the movie together." And I tried reading the first couple of pages, and as much as soon I went, I can't do this. I gotta just like close it. I can't. It put me into a little bit of a slump to the point that I'm like, now I'm trying to find a book that will hook me in a better way than that did. So it just depends on the book itself. I had times that I enjoy the book so much I can finish it in like 3, 4 days. It just depended on work mostly.
Mhm.
But if the book is just one that it's not hooking me, or it's in a part that it's kind of slow, it might take me a couple more days than what I think. So it just really depends on how I feel towards it more than anything.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. I was trying to read Stephen King's 11/22/63, not realizing that that book is like 1,075 pages, and I'm used to doing like 300 tops. So I was just like, it took me 8 months to get to like 900 pages, and I was still like I can't finish this book. Like I literally messaged a buddy of mine who loves Stephen King and was like, "It's cool. You can tell me what ends up happening in that book." And he tells me, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, I should go back and read it, but I won't." So, so
Yeah, even like I don't have it, but my brother has it. The copy of it is like that thick, of how thick it is, and it's over 1,000 pages as well. And it's one of the few books that he owns, and I said I will not be reading that because I have a life, and I want it take me that
yeah,
long to read that one, and just I can't do it.
yeah, exactly. And then like oddly enough, Shawshank Redemption is only like 100 pages or something like that. And it's like you got this amazing script from like 100 pages? Like that's crazy. So, but yeah, wild,
Yeah,
wild.
yeah, I can do it.
Yeah. So we were talking off air about like whether you're reading a comic book or you're reading a book, you still count comic books or graphic novels because like as long as you have the what I mean by that for those listening is there's people who they'll make a list at the beginning of the year like I want to read 50 books. And so my question was, do you count the comic books in that, or do you mean only paperbacks, hardcover books? Um, Astrid, as you were saying before, as long as you have the content, like you're seeing the content, then it should count, right?
Yeah, I do like what you said. I got a Goodreads, and I set a reading challenge for myself. I have a full-time job and plus the wrestling stuff on the side. So I
Mhm.
try to be reasonable with my reading. So I put it like maybe 20 to 25 books depending on the time. And anytime I read any type of book, whether it's a novella, it could be a regular book, like you said, a graphic novel, comic book. It's an audiobook. I record every single thing that I read because it's like I read it, I listened to it, I paid attention and knew what happened from cover to cover. So I'm counting it. I'm not gonna not count it. I have moments like that with my mom because I would listen to the audiobooks while I was working before. And she said, "Oh, that doesn't count as reading." I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." So one day she was trying to find something to like listen to while she was working. She found an audiobook. She's like, "Oh, now I understand what you mean. You gotta concentrate just as much as you are while you're reading." I'm like, "Exactly. That's why it counts as reading too."
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes I'll listen to an audiobook while I'm on the treadmill at the gym, and I'm just like, I'll stop, not realizing that I didn't stop the speed, and I'll be like hooked on the spot. So a little dangerous, but
Yeah.
what can you do? So what movies were we talking about? Like we're gonna end up doing a Nattering at the movies eventually. Which ones were we looking at? Scream, and then
Yeah.
anything else,
I,
or
I don't. I know we're definitely talking about Scream. I don't remember any other ones, but it's mostly because I love all the Scream movies and I have all of them, and I talked about them way too long to too many people. So I know that's mainly the one I always like to discuss if anybody have seen it. But yes, that's my number one.
nice? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'll watch that, and then we'll get Scream going. Have you seen Princess Bride?
No, and a lot of people have told me about that one. My brother makes fun of me because I don't think I've seen it, and if I did, I've probably seen only like clips here and there, but not the entire movie.
Yeah, I've never seen it either, so I'm thinking of doing it as like Nattering at the movies episode, Princess Bride. Um, I forget what station it's on, but I just got a notice today that like Netflix or Disney are now doing this crackdown where you can't share with family anymore. You have to like actually get your own account. And I'm just like, no.
Yeah,
So
it's terrible.
yeah. What are you watching these days?
I usually try to watch. I watch a lot of stuff on Netflix. I was watching The Circle. My friend Ella watches it too, so we like to always talk about it. Now that we know that we both watch it, so we try to tell each other what episode we're on before we start really talking about it, so we don't spoil each other on it. So we're waiting on the new episodes now, so we can talk about those. And I just finished Emily in Paris with my mom. We like to watch it, like binge watch it together. So we were watching it together the night it came out, but we just didn't have time to finish the last episode, so we finished it yesterday. But it's one of those things like we cannot watch it without each other because she'll get mad at me if I end up like playing it without her. So she will message me, she's like, tell me when you have time today because we have to watch it. We have to finish it. So that one's another one. And Love is Blind is very cliche, but it's always like a guilty pleasure. So I end up watching that with her as well. And just like anytime I find something online about it, I send it to her. She sends it to me. So we always spend time together, just finding those kind of shows to watch together. But it's always fun when we just play it in the living room when we have almost everybody join us to watch everything like that and just spend time together, even laughing, just as a guilty pleasure with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I wanted to tell you too. I finished Walker up to season 3. Apparently season 4 isn't out yet. So that stuff's
I
so
think
good.
I'm trying to remember which one it was. The bad thing I hated about any of those shows is that being on the CW, they just canceled a bunch of the shows that I liked. I think was it last year, the year before. So I was very upset, just thinking like, no, I watch all these shows and I was looking forward to all this stuff. But yeah, I watched the season 4 on the CW app, so that's how I kept up with it.
True.
But
Yeah.
I just hated that they canceled a bunch of the shows that I've liked, and I was watching like almost like in bulk to put it like that.
Yeah.
It's like it just made me very sad that CW is not what it used to be, that it's gonna be totally different from the shows I used to watch. But I can't complain because I got NXT now, so
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. I like that they had like Arrow and Dare and The
yeah.
Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, like all those good shows back in the day. I mean back a
Yeah,
couple
those are the
years ago.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm upset with those. And I used to watch like Roswell, New Mexico and Dynasty. So it was like a bunch of those shows got all like canceled like almost at the same time. I think there was only maybe one or two of them. I know, like Nancy Drew was the other one. And Nancy Drew, the only difference is I think the writers, if I'm not mistaken, they said that they had a feeling that something was going to happen. So they started writing the next season, wrapping up everything, knowing that they probably were going to get canceled as well. And they did. So that was the only show that kind of like wrapped it up. But you can tell they wrapped it up because they knew it was going to get canceled, not because that was the original plan, to
Mhm.
put it like that. Walker's another one that I'm just upset that they just like ended it the way they did because there's not gonna be anything else afterwards. So
Yeah,
yeah.
apparently the guy who plays Walker is going to be on like a spin-off of Fire Country.
Yes.
I just like I've watched a couple episodes of Fire Country and I'm like respectfully, I'm like, how is this getting a spin-off? So
I'm enjoying it so far. I ended up watching it on Netflix when it got released not too long ago, and I finished it very quickly. So I ended up watching the second season on Paramount very quickly because it had only like 10 episodes.
yeah.
So I'm interested to see how it'll be with the new people because it's not only him. He's getting added to this season along with I think two other people, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it'll be interesting moving forward to see what the dynamic is like.
Yeah, that'll be great for sure. Do you watch SWAT or any of those shows?
No, I think my mom was telling me about SWAT. The other one that I watched is the 911s. I watched them in one, the regular one, and Lone Star.
Yeah.
And there was another one. Oh, there's one that's starting up this month. I think it's called like High Rescue High Surf or something like that. It's about
Oh yeah,
surfing,
yeah,
like
yeah, I saw
rescue.
that. Yeah.
So that and shoot. Oh, Criminal Minds is the other one that I was watching just because I love that show so much. And the other ones that I usually watch, just have to wait for them to return. Is like all the Chicago shows. I watch Chicago, like PD and Med, and all my Law and Orders. I watch all of them too, especially SVU. That's my number one. So just
Really?
waiting for them to
We're
come back so I can.
we're like the same person. I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is me." For sure. I love SVU. SVU is the best. Um and Criminal Minds, like the new stuff has been great. I really
Mhm.
the I gotta get the guy's name, but the Sicarius, the guy who's
Yeah.
Sicarius, I thought that he looked like, did you ever watch Young and the Restless, the soap opera?
No, no, but I know about it.
So there's this guy Daniel Romalotti who he's also been on like Criminal Minds a couple of times, but he looks exactly like the Sicarius guy. They're two different dudes, and I'm just like, oh my God, not Daniel again from Y&R. But yeah,
Mm.
he's a good bad guy. Like that guy plays a good role as a bad guy.
Yeah, yeah, he does. He plays it too well. It's a little bit sus, but he does it too well, to be honest.
Yeah, when he inexplicably like joins the team and gives them advice. I'm just like, he and Rossi aren't going to be buddies now, are they? Because that's how they're kind of leaning. No, like I don't
But
know.
you know what I liked about that part with him and Rossi? It's just the part that even when he was there, he was giving Rossi anxiety, and you could see like the anxiety like being displayed on a show the way they did with him. I thought that was super interesting. Just thinking of like Rossi's working, and he could hear him in the back of his mind, and all of a sudden he's in the room. He's like, "No, you idiot! It's this," and I'm like, "It's exactly how I feel in my mind." It's like, how did you get that so right? And it's like those ones that he's talking to himself, and people are like, "Are you okay, Ross?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." It's like, oh my gosh, that is so accurate. And I like how he's like, you're thinking of the way he's getting into his mind, that you can see that like visually there as it's happening. It's like that was just a nice touch that I didn't think would happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, Whoa, they said that. Did you ever watch Dexter back in the day?
Oh my God, I love Dexter. That was
So,
terrible.
so Angel's sister. I forget her character's name on Dexter, but anyways, I was just looking it up here, and apparently she's gonna join Criminal Minds Evolution in season 3. So
Mm.
that should be interesting.
Well, now there's gonna be a Dexter like a prequel series as well. That's gonna be happening soon.
Oh my God, there's so much TV.
Yeah, everything's coming back now, and now between September and October. So I had to write everything down so I wouldn't forget. But it's a lot of returning and new shows happening at least. So
Yeah,
I'm glad I can fill in the gap for the ones that got canceled for me.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I used to, because I watch a lot of shows with my mom as well. So we used to joke that like every show that we liked was getting canceled, and so it's like, oh,
Mm.
why? Like for instance, there was a show 10 or 11 years ago called Alcatraz. I don't know if you ever watched it. Was
It sounds familiar though.
it was uh oh shit, what was his name? He ended up being on Hawaii Five O as well. Jerry on Hawaii Five O. Jerry Ortega. He was played by Jorge
Okay,
Garcia.
okay, I'm seeing it now. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was on Alcatraz, and it only lasted a season, but like the premise of it was awesome. It was like these
Mm.
character these old-timey villains who used to be on Alcatraz uh somehow came back to life in the present, and then he and this girl would have to like capture them somehow. So when the show failed, he ended up going to Hawaii Five O. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, he's
No, and
awesome.
I'm reading that Sam Neill is just the narrator. I love Sam Neill from Jurassic Park.
Yes, yeah. He's great.
Oh gosh.
He's great.
Yeah, I didn't know about that one.
Have you read the Jurassic Park novels or?
No, but I do love the movies. I love them so much. I don't think you can see them from here, but some of my Funko Pops up there, I part of the sceneries, like the scene ones, the big ones from Jurassic Park. So
Mhm.
I have a couple of them. There's one that I have with, I don't know if I have it there exactly, but it's like the entrance with the doctor in the front there too. So it looks pretty cool. So when I saw that one, I was like, I have to get it.
Ah, that's awesome. Yeah. We're audio only, so just to describe to the listeners, uh, Astrid has a entire Funko Pop collection. Funko Pops are like bobbleheads, basically, of
Yeah.
various celebrities and wrestlers and things like that. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, Astrid, before we get out of here, firstly, thank you so much for coming on. Secondly, where can the fine people of the internet find you?
You can find me mostly on my Twitter, which is like my name, Astrid Pizarro. My Instagram is Astrid Pizarro 20. Unfortunately, somebody has the Astrid Pizarro that I wanted, so I had to put the 20 in there to make it different. But other than that, you can find me on my YouTube channel as well, the same name, Astrid Pizarro. I do have Taking Over, which is my weekly NXT post show with my good friend Ed that we do on a weekly basis. And every now and then, doing like pay-per-view post shows with our local establishments, which is the main platform that I usually do my stuff in, and we do a lot of shows like almost on a daily basis at this point. But we do a lot of pay-per-view post shows, so I try to be on them as much as I can. So you can see me on that channel there as well. But just usually having fun with friends like I am with you today, just hopping on different like shows and having fun and getting to work with different people I didn't get to work with before. So that's the fun of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this has been a blast for sure. Like I said, I've been wanting to do a podcast episode with you or some sort of creative venture with you. Pretty much since we connected on Twitter, to be honest. Not to kiss your butt too much. But for me, you can find me as always, Eric Freeds on the Twitter machine. Um Nattering with E on the Nattering with E network, along with Visionaries Global Media, Nattering with E. Um, we are so this will go out probably tomorrow, which is Sunday, the 15th of September. And I'm currently binging PWG Battle of Los Angeles's for another podcast that Bauerhausen and I are going to be doing. So stay tuned for that because that's going to be awesome. And as always, stay glorious. See you later.